So look, it's become pretty darn obvious that this guy, Andrew Tate, has become iconic. He's become so popular, especially with the younger generation. Like our children, young kids, teenagers, young adults, especially boys, they look up to this guy. And they look up to him, I think, for some pretty obvious reasons. They look up to him because he's wealthy. They look up to him because he's a fighter, right? And he embodies this strength. And he has beautiful women around him. A lot of men are attracted to that. And he seems to be very dogmatic and principled, right? He seems to have principles that he is sticking to and that he is vocal about, that he won't shy away from. And I think that's actually the attribute that a lot of young men are attracted to. And honestly, it saddens me because this is not a person that we should be looking up to. None of our kids should be looking up to a person like this, right? Someone who's reportedly made their money and wealth initially in the porn industry, right? Or with casinos and gambling. Whatever your thoughts are on him, what I want to say is the problem is not Andrew Tate. The problem is not men like Andrew Tate. The real problem is you. It's men, it's dads who have been so softened, emasculated, that have lost their freaking cojones. That's the problem. And because there's been a whole entire generation of men and fathers who have lost their freaking man card, that there's no one else to look up to besides people like the Andrew Tates of the world. So look, I'm a dad of 3, okay? I have 2 boys and a girl. And I want to describe 5 rules that I'm using to be a hero, to be someone that my kids look up to be a man that my boys aspire to be like, or to be a man that my daughter aspires to get married to. I want to share those 5 rules with you so that way you can identify if you're doing these things yourself or if you can start to adopt any of these things, because really more of us men and dads need to wake the crap up and be there for our kids and for this next generation. Rule number 1, we need to be men that fear only one. What do I mean by this? Being a man really does mean being fearless. But when I say we should fear only one, what I mean is you should only fear God and no one and nothing else. This is where like the whole mantra of like no F's given. I don't want to say the word, but you know what I'm saying. And it's this idea of like, yeah, I don't care what other people think. However, I think a lot of men parade saying they don't care what others think, when in actuality, they have so much insecurity because they don't know who they really are. They don't know where their identity is wrapped in, that they actually really care what everyone else is thinking. That's why they're trying to get more muscular in the gym. It's why they're trying to make more money. It's why they're trying to dress in a way that makes them look successful. It's why they try and drive a car they can't actually afford, but they want to look successful in front of their friends. It's because of insecurity and fear of man. Real men do not give a crap about what other men think. Real men only care what God thinks. The true creator, when you fear the Lord, you authentically look at your weaknesses, your hangups, your vices, and you realize you don't actually have control. You need to surrender those things and in your weakness be made strong through God. And then that's when you start to realize your identity is wrapped into who He says you are, not how you describe yourself. And that's when you really start to walk in this freedom of not really caring what other people think, because you really are trying to do the will and the work of the God who created you. And so I think that's the number 1 rule I'm trying to live by, is that I fear no one except God. Look, rule number 2 is you need to be a man of discipline. What I mean by this is, look, I hate to break it to you, but if you have a soft beer gut and it looks like you have cellulite on your forearms, your kids just don't look up to that. Gluttony is the opposite of discipline around food, right? Sedentary and not being active is the opposite of discipline. It does not take discipline to be sedentary. What I'm doing right now takes 0 discipline. Waking up at 5:30, going to the gym every day for 20 plus years straight, that requires discipline. The reason why our kids gravitate to the Thors and the Hulks of the fantasy world is because the muscle, the strength, like that embodies someone that you respect, because you cannot buy muscle. You can't fake muscle. You can't buy strong cardio. You can't buy a six-pack. You actually have to put in the work to get it. And because you can't counterfeit it, other people recognize you can't counterfeit it. And so it's even more respectable when they see it because it requires the discipline to get it. And so when people see that, they see discipline. And so I want my kids to recognize like, wow, dad's in much better shape than most of the other dads. And he's really strong. He could probably protect me and protect mom. And we want our kids to see the strength, but we also want them to respect the discipline that we carry. Rule number 3 is you need to be a man of loyalty. I hate to break it to you, but being a player is not respected. The whole like body count and blah, 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 blah. Look, any successful man that you study through history, they are married to a single woman. And any of the times in history, even in biblical history, when kings had concubines and multiple wives, that was not seen or viewed as good. In fact, it actually caused harm and consequences that were not positive. So loyalty really should be you are a one-woman kind of guy and you get married and you stay married, right? You don't abandon things or people quickly because you feel different or you feel a certain way. So being loyal is an attribute that I think people respect inherently, and our kids can see it. They can see you stick to a job because God's called you to it, or you know you're supposed to stay in it. Now, if you're called to something else, or you need to like take a risk and move on, I'm gonna talk about this here in a second, then you should do that. But there's a level of loyalty to friends, to your spouse, to certain jobs or assignments that you're given. If a military guy abandons his post, that is not being loyal to the post, and that is not viewed as positive or a good thing. So you need to be a man of loyalty. Are you being loyal in the areas of your life that matter? Or are you hop, skipping, and moving on quickly because you just, I don't like this job anymore. You know, this girl, she's not really serving my needs anymore. Okay, see if that's a story. Okay, rule number 4 is you should be a man of risk. We're built as men to have adventure. Like, it's fun to freaking go out into the forest and look around and pick up sticks and throw rocks and try and find animals that you can shoot, that you can squish. We want and crave adventure, okay? And if you're not taking calculated risks in your life, you won't have much of a life. So again, if you want to be respected by your kids, you want to be looked up to, you're going to have to take certain risks. For example, if you want to get ahead financially and you want to make more income, have wealth, financial freedom for you and your family, you're gonna have to take some calculated risks. That's what entrepreneurship is. I've taken a lot of risks in entrepreneurship and in business in order to do better for myself and for my family. But you have to take them. If you never take them, you never get to do anything awesome or fun. You sometimes have to take the road less traveled. There's a line where you could get reckless. Reckless is you don't stick to a certain path long enough. Reckless is you make a decision out of impulse, right? Out of an emotion. When I say risk, I mean calculated, logical. You need to get out there. You need to put yourself on the line. And also on that, putting yourself out there in terms of vulnerability. Do people actually know you? There's a risk in relationships. Do you have really strong friendships? Men that stand by your side. People who know you, the real you, the you that operates in secret. When you're in the room that no one sees, when you're on your phone and no one's looking, when you're in your office and no one's there, that version of you, okay, the version that you want to try and keep hidden away, the more of that version you allow out and others to see, that's what vulnerability is. And the more that people know the real you, that takes risk because you put yourself on the line to do that, but then you get great relationships in return. Rule number 5, you need to be a man of justice. Okay, what is justice? What is just? I think justice is standing for what's right. Okay, well, how do you know what's right? Well, this is why you need to fear only God and be a man of faith who is principled in the ways of the Lord and of the Bible, in my opinion, because then that shapes and tells you what truth is so that you know what real truth is. Then you know what is just and what is unjust. I stand against injustice. Right? I cannot stand abortion. It is wrong. I make a stand for it. See, real men have hills they're willing to die on. You will not be shaken or maneuvered off of that path. Areas and topics for me: abortion, human trafficking, marriage. Marriage should be between a man and a woman. This is what has been recognized for millennia, right? Gender, duh, there's two. We need to stand for truth and what is just. And our kids need to see that, right? I mean, gosh, the freaking movie Justice League. Superheroes, heroes are built around fighting injustice, things that are wrong. If you need to be a man who's willing to put a stake in the ground and say, this is right, this is wrong, and not be shaken by it. Maybe it means you lose your job. Maybe it means you lose finances. Maybe it means you lose relationships. But this swings us back to, you don't give a crap. You don't care because you are doing things for one person and one person only, and that's God, right? He's the only one you fear. He's the only one that you care about what he thinks about you. Anyone else doesn't matter. So now you want your kids to respect you, to love you, to look up to you, to be the hero. These are 5 rules that I think can help you be that person to your kids. And that way we can move away from these other counterfeit role models and heroes that are popping up in social media, and you can be the real life hero to your kids.